Derek asked me to talk on a couple things, and I guess if I was going to title it, I would say is seizing the low-hanging fruit with a common-sense approach. I'm going to talk about three things if I have time, Derek. One is the one that you wanted me to talk to, which is the additional capacity proposal we put up, which is based on unmet demand for our product and also revenue enhancement to the park. The other is outside of what we do, which is provide the ferry service over to the Dry Tortugas, but it's an ancillary service of providing a glass-bottom boat, which once again is an opportunity to not only enhance the revenues to the park, but also the ability of the guests to enjoy and understand what the park's about. And if we have time, I just want to talk about how we're proposing to solve an issue of composting, which wasn't really anticipated in our proposal this way. Well, to begin with, the additional capacity proposal is based on the fact that there is, in our management plan, it calls for a maximum number of visitors to the park of 330 visitors a day. Now, the ferry boat is limited right now to 150, the seaplane service 60, the private vessels 52, and campers 68. That's where they get to 330. Well, I think that the Dry Tortugas Ferry would probably be a poster child for such a proposal as this, because rarely, if ever, and never since we've been involved with it, has the capacity approached 300. So the Yankee Freedom 3, which is our new vessel, which just won the Workboat Award for significant vessels, by the way, we're very proud of that, had to be have a capacity of 250, but our contract with the Park Service is only to carry a maximum of 150. So given seasonality and the weather, fully 100 days in which we operate, we are at capacity with unmet demand. So the solution, very simple, to go back to the park and say, look, we'd like to increase our capacity to 175. Before we took this operation over, there were two boats with a capacity each of 100, so this is well within that range. This way, more guests that want to go that now can't go would be permitted to go, and it would increase the revenues to the park somewhere in the neighborhood of approximately not to the park, general revenues, of about $500,000. And none of this will impact the management plan capacity of 330. But a word to the wise, as we found out, if you're going to do something like this, start early. I don't know about your contract manager, but ours is the guy that crosses every T and dots every I. It's pretty amazing. The other thing is the glass-bottom boat that we mentioned in our proposal, but it's not part of our current service. The Dry Tortugas has not only one of the most unique and architecturally stunning buildings in North America, it also has one of the most dramatic migratory birding locations, and perhaps one of the most intact and beautiful reefs in the world. And we provide snorkeling gear to all of our guests, but the better reefs, frankly, are offshore. And we're always looking for a way to discourage those divers who come down, and their usual last words are, "Hey, honey, watch this." Don't like them too much. So we proposed instituting a glass-bottom boat to be offered as an add-on admission. Oddly, the park is very much in favor of it. We're exploring it. We're doing a survey right now, which I think doing surveys is probably a good way to convince them that the demand is there. What we found is about 30% of the people who take our ferry service out to the park would in fact avail themselves of this opportunity at an increased admission. That's it on those two things. Derek didn't ask me to talk about this, but I'll just touch on it. The Park Service wants to go green, and one of the things they're very interested in is composting. Well, if you look into composting, really look into it, which I did, to compost properly, you need to have an industrial composting facility, which is basically getting the temperature in a composter up to 140 degrees for 10 days. No such facility exists in Monroe County or Dade County. So when we built our interpretive center, we were looking at all aspects of the fort, because we built an 8-foot in diameter model of the fort, and we discovered, lo and behold, that back in the 1860s, 1870s, and 80s, the prisoners and guards actually had a fresh vegetable garden. And so we proposed to the National Park Service to let us take our lunch waste, and instead of taking it all the way back to Key West, to install a composting unit right there and build an interpretive garden. They like it. So the jury's still out on that one, but we think it's a great idea and a model for maybe other parks.